Hi, this is my review of The Inheritance of Loss by Kiran Desai. So, this is a book set in the 90s. I think it was published in 2006, but it is set in the 90s. And it's about a lot of things, actually. Uh, but most importantly, it's about the idea that South Asians usually face now. The question of what are we leaving behind for the generations to follow. Because South Asia is going through this this phase of where their homeland is going through some major socio-economic political changes, which have made it a difficult place to reside in, and people are finding their life or their dreams elsewhere in the world. And this is what this book is about. What does that do to you? So it leaves your inheritance at a loss, and this is what the book is about. It's a literary novel. It asks a lot of major questions. Um, it's beautifully written. There were the beautiful thing about Kiran Desai's writing, and this is not the first time I'm reading her. I read Halabaloo in the Guava Orchard before this. Uh, she writes books where she writes books about the big questions of life, the major questions of life, and she's able to separate those questions and draw out the moments and let them linger, let those big questions become sub questions and then sub questions, and she's able to pierce it and take out more from it. I can't even explain how she manages to do this. But she's her attempt at describing homelessness that a person feels who doesn't really belong anywhere, but belongs to the world, who doesn't resemble a place or an area or a culture anymore, because he's constantly trying to seek life and constantly trying to survive, is beautiful in this novel. I really enjoyed it, thoroughly enjoyed it. If you want to know the storyline, it has two storylines. One of them is that there's a retired judge who went abroad for a number of years to get his LLB done, and then he came back, and now he's retired, and his granddaughter is living with him, and he has been highly influenced by the colonial past, and he doesn't like to be referred to as an Indian, and he likes to, you know, he likes to believe that he's very westernized. And then there's the other story of the cook of this judge who sends his son abroad to to America to establish a life for him, and it's not as easy as it sounds. It's not really the land of dreams which they are hoping it is, because as much as people living in South Asia uh, find it difficult to live in South Asia. Living anywhere, life in itself is hard, no matter where you're living. So this is, it has so many questions and so many answers. It's very difficult to describe what this book is about, but it's beautiful. It really makes you ask questions. I have a lot of uh, post-its here, and just moments that I found beautiful in this book, and I couldn't help myself. I had to sort of save them, and things that made me want to shut the book and just think about. um, so it's very well done, a must read, especially with someone who has changed their home and is hanging on to their culture or to their identity by a thread, and trying to find a new identity, trying to find a new home. I think there's something that would really resonate with them. So um, it it's also a good book for someone who's trying to diverse their reading. Just something really interesting to pick up. It won't. Some people might not call it very relevant now because it is set in the 90s, but I believe it's still relevant because the mindset is still the same. History repeats itself. So uh, I gave it a 4 out of 5, and the only reason I did that was because I'm I'm in love with Anita Desai, Kiran Desai's mother's writing, and I felt that the storyline of the grandfather and the granddaughter was very similar to one of Anita Desai's books. That was the only reason I gave it a 4 out of 5. Otherwise, I thought this book is just it's it's a journey and a beautiful one. Thank you.